heartbroken?
I'm all right.
I wish you were proud in your recovery.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We meet on Tuesdays, by the way. Same club. Yeah, so I thought that with the clubs opening up again in Amsterdam, being free to wander the wild streets, that I would tell the story about my first night in Amsterdam. We're all warmed up. Thank you. The reaction, where is she? The reactions are on point right now. It's actually a night where I got these scars on my hand. I don't know if you can see them, but if you want to come up after the break, look at my hand. Yeah. And I like to call this night Amsterdam, the Odyssey. So, book one. It's an odyssey. It ends in scars. When I first moved to Amsterdam, I was living in Zaandam with my aunts, Sandra and Uncle Jan. So thank you to those lovely people. And it took me some time to get used to what was happening, some bureaucracy, before I actually got to go out to Amsterdam. It took about 2 weeks before I finally got the chance to see the big city. So there's a lot of anticipation, right? I don't know why I'm doing that to you, I'm so sorry.
I love it. Keep it coming.
Oh, guys, the show's over, sorry. So there's a lot of anticipation. So when it finally came time to have that weekend, I decided I'm gonna do a couple of things. I had two plans. The first plan was that I was gonna go to this coffee shop tour. Who said nice? I wasn't actually smoking weed at the time.
Not so nice.
It was just free, and I thought it was a good chance to meet people and see a little bit of Amsterdam. The thing is our tour guide never showed up. My theory is that she got a little bit too high on the tour before and just kind of forgot about us. There was no phone call, no message. She didn't come. But it wasn't a problem because we were all kind of already mingled, already talking while we were waiting for a tour guide. We thought, we got a pretty good group going. We'll just make it our own night. So like any new Amsterdammer or tourist or someone who's exploring the city for the first time, we go to the Bulldog. I deserve that. I've grown a lot as an individual. This is my first time in Amsterdam 6 years ago. So we went to the Bulldog, and those who smoked, and those who drank, and we had so much fun we decided to go to this next bar. Now, speaking of growing a lot in the last 6 years, this is my first time trying Belgian beer. And I got really into this cherry beer.
Kriek! Kriek!
That's a woman's beer.
I can be a woman if you want me to.
Yes.
Anyway, so I tried this cherry beer, and it wasn't because I was a woman, but it was because it came in this Harry Potter glass.
Yes.
And I've always had this beer since I was born, so I was living my best wizard self, drinking this Kriek beer. And I kept going and I kept going and I kept going. I was having a really good time. I didn't realize the alcohol percentage was higher, and by the time I was finished drinking all of these Harry Potter glasses, I looked at the clock and I was late for the second part of my night, which was a traveler pub crawl, but for gay men specifically. Book 2. So I step out of this pub, and it's immediately pouring rain, because it's Amsterdam and this is what happens when you step out of a pub. It's always raining. And I was lost because all of a sudden it was nighttime and these Belgian beers were going through my system, and I was trying to look at my phone, but the rain was coming down so hard that I decided that I would just step into a cab and see if he could help me. But he wasn't gonna help me. So I said to the guy hey, I wanna go to this gay bar, and he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Excuse me? Exactly, my same reaction. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe he's a little bit nervous about going to the gay bar, so I'm gonna offer him a little bit more money. I'm like, dude, I got 20 euro. Just get me to the gay bar. No, I'm not gonna do it. So I'm getting a little bit upset, and this escalates, it continues to escalate. Eventually, he's like, I can't do anything. So I get out of the cab, I slam the door behind me, and I go around the corner.
Alimony call!
So I go around the corner, and there, sure enough, is the bar. Exactly. So he wasn't homophobic, he was actually just courteous. So I go into this bar and I say to the guy like, hey, I'm really late, got a bit lost. He's like, no problem, don't worry about it. I'll let the guy know that you're here. So he like buzzes the guy, and this guy comes down the stairs, and it's like the middle of January. This guy is in booty shorts and a pink tube top. Yeah, like specs, like. And I'm dripping wet, so there's a contrast here. And he comes up like this brilliant, radiant person that he is, and he says, there you are. You must be the Canadian. We've been waiting for you. No Canadian, right? So then I go upstairs, and this is a gay traveler's pub crawl. Traveler's pub crawl. But when I go upstairs, the people who have traveled were from Limburg, and Brabant, and Friesland. So I walked up there with my hunky-dory Canadian self saying, hey everybody, I'm Phil. And they looked at me and they're like, yeah, doy. They went back to the desk conversation. This kind of set the entire precedent for the pub crawling, to be honest. I very much felt like the kid who did get picked in dodgeball. These reactions are tight, guys. Keep it up. I'm so on fire right now. Yeah, so I felt a little bit like a black sheep, and I would try like, you go to a bar and it's a pub crawl, you do a shot, and then like something happens, and it's all fun. But like, I'm trying to talk to people, and people are just like, nah man, you're late, you don't speak Dutch, get out of here. So I decided, but you know what, I paid money for this. Like, I took my hard-earned Canadian cash, which is like, you know, what is it, the euro doubles the Canadian dollar at this stage? And I'm like, I'm gonna do my best to turn this side around. So I decided, I'm just gonna go to a bar, I'm gonna talk to people, and I'm gonna like say goodbye to all these Dutch people. And it worked. I got to this bar, and I actually met a guy, and get the reactions ready.
And he's here.
Yes, no.
The hat on.
No, he was, we did start to hit it off a bit though. You know, there's a little bit of chemistry between us. I was like, oh, I'm from like Canada, you know, it's so far. And he was like from Australia, so it was also far. And then things were happening, you know? So the tour guide comes up in his booty shorts and pink tank top. And he goes, there you are. I'm gonna put a leash on you because you keep getting lost, mister. I had to leave at that stage. So, night's not really going in my direction. I'm gonna miss the bus back to Zaandam. So I say to the tour guide, hey, really, really fun, but I'm gonna go. Tour guide was not having it. He looks at me and he's like, but you're gonna miss out on the biggest gay club in Amsterdam, mister. It was Nick's. Who said Nick's? It was Nick's. So I'm like, okay.
Just not gay.
Yeah. We're not here to advertise Nick's, it's just what this guy believes. There's better out there. I know that after 6 years. I've grown as an individual. So we go to Nick's, I take off my jacket, I give it the coat check, and then I turn around and everyone's just gone. And the Belgian beer and those shots and everything else I'd done in between was starting to mix in my system. And I was surrounded by like aggressive European techno and like sweaty, shirtless men. And I was just this innocent, lost little Canadian boy wandering around trying to find a friend. But guess what? I found the guy again!
No!
Yes! So, I got like sober face and like walk up to him and like, fancy meeting you here. And he's like, I can say the same to you. And then like, I just immediately, because I was drunk, like let it all out. I'm like, I'm so lost. It's so late. I'm gonna miss my bus back to like Zaandam. Can you help me out so much? And bless this guy's heart. You know what he said to me? He goes, I'm gonna give you my number. And next weekend, why don't you and I do a tour of Amsterdam together? I took that number and I left the bar. But when I left the bar, I looked at my phone again.
Oh.
And it was now 4 a.m. Book 3. I started to just like suss my options. Like, what can I do? What can I really, really do at this situation? And I'm thinking like, okay, I can just go on like a park bench or lie somewhere and just see what. If I fall asleep, I fall asleep. It's Amsterdam. How dangerous can it be, guys? Right? It's not Brussels. I've offended at least one person in this audience right now. But then I'm like, it's still drizzling a little bit, so maybe it's better if I just like walk up to Central Station, and then maybe I'll find like a little like canopy to like nest under. And so that's what I decided to do. So I started walking, but then I slipped on a tram rail. I slipped and I fell onto my hand. But I'm hammered drunk, Nadine. So I don't feel a damn thing. In fact, when I see this guy down the street and he goes, hey, are you all right? And I go, yeah, I'm fine. But my hand is covered in blood. So now I'm like, oh fuck, I can't sleep at the train station. What if a cop finds me? Like, what's he gonna say? What's he gonna do? It's my first night. So I start to wander around Amsterdam, and I'm trying to find any place that's open, like any place that can help me out. And there's only one place open around kind of the gay area at 4 a.m. in Amsterdam, and it's the gay sauna. So I walk in there and I have a plan. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this bloody hand, I'm gonna put it behind my back. And I'm gonna walk up, and I'm gonna very confidently say to this man, I would like one locker, please, because I'm polite, I'm Canadian. And the guy will go, okay, no problem. And this is where I fucked it up. The wrong hand. So the guy looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm thinking, oh shit, he's gonna throw me out. But this guy, he goes, honey, I'm training to be a nurse. You get behind this bar right now, I'm gonna fix you up. Despite being a drunken mess, I actually met some pretty decent people. So then I'm behind the bar. I'm getting started to drink. He cleans up my hand. He like puts bandages all over it and stuff, and I'm sent out the door to get to my bus. And then I get to the bus, and I'm sitting on the bus, and I'm finally thinking, I can just go home. Book 4. So I fall asleep at Central Station. I wake up in Zanzischans. I fall asleep at Central Station. I wake up to Zanzischans, and I just keep going back and forth. And I just like, legitimately, like, I will sleep in the 5 minutes it takes for my stop. I'll be like, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. Zanzischans, okay, stay awake, stay awake. Central Station. And it took me like, I don't know how many hours to figure this out. But eventually I did get off the bus. And the bus driver even was like, Goed zo, jongen. So I walk into, I put the key in the door. I open the door, and then my Aunt Sandra is coming down the stairs wearing a bathrobe. She's getting ready for work. And she looks at me, and I look at her with a key in the hand, like a little bit of stumble in my step. And she looks at me and she says, so Phil, how was your first night in Amsterdam? And I showed her my bandaged hand, and I was like, Sandra, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to bed. Stay safe, everybody.